heading to Malabo, the capital of Equatorial Guinea, where the 7th Extraordinary Session of the Economic Community of Central African States, ECCAS, is being held. The session is attended by the head of state, Felix Antoine Tshisekedi. On site, the heads of state and government of ECAS are calling for the implementation of Resolution 2773. Ghislaine Tabi tells us about these qualities. First, the significance of these summits at the regional level. Stay tuned.
The island capital of Equatorial Guinea is hosting this Sunday, September 7th, 2025, the 7th Extraordinary Session of the Conference of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of Central African States, ECCAS. This high-level meeting is expected to make crucial decisions regarding the governance and functioning of the organization, while also addressing the urgent humanitarian and security challenges affecting the region. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, a full member of this organization, is taking part. It is actively participating in these summits to make its voice heard. A voice represented by the country's foremost citizen. Arriving in Malabo on Sunday morning, the President of the Republic, Felix Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo, was warmly welcomed as he disembarked from the plane. With handshakes and the presentation of flower bouquets, the head of state greeted the lined-up honor guard made up of Equatoguinean and Congolese officials. The presidential motorcade then proceeded to the Sipopo International Conference Center. At the heart of the event, the opening ceremony program included 3 speeches, among them that of President Obiang Nguema. This will be followed by a closed-door session to review and adopt the draft agenda. In the wake of this conference, an important diplomatic sequence awaits the President of the Republic, Felix Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo. Aligned with regional priorities, the issue of the security and humanitarian crisis in Eastern DRC, which affects the region, will be the subject of major discussions. And there will be further developments in the highly anticipated final committee, which will conclude the proceedings of the Malabo summit. Let us recall that the ECAS's mission is to promote cooperation and strengthen regional integration in Central Africa in all areas.
A new team is now leading the National Youth Council with this CNJ delegation led by the Minister of Youth. Thanks to Mikutino, they were received by the Presidents of the Republic. More details from Marceline Wakumania and Bienvenue Kaikwamba. Stay tuned.
On Saturday evening, the Congolese Minister of Youth presented the new leadership team of the Congolese National Youth Council to the head of state. She also introduced the ambassador of Congolese youth ahead of the national consultations on the aspirations of young people in the DRC. We are already on the verge of a major launch that we are preparing. There will be national consultations throughout the entire Democratic Republic of Congo. Because I am advocating and I want this, a youth that is heard, a youth that participates, a youth that can also write the history of this country. But we cannot make decisions for this youth if we do not listen to them. So for this reason, we are on the verge of major national consultations. The president of the CNJ explained the mission assigned to him.
Our vision, especially on these very important topics that we presented to the authorities, the head of state, who has now engaged and mobilized young people's potential for the development progress of the DRC. The leader like this, he gave us very clear, very precise directives. He showed himself to be committed and above all supportive on youth issues. And we truly saw in him this urgency to see things change immediately. And we as youth leaders are ready to transform all the ideas he has given us, even those that seemed unsuccessful, in the shortest possible time. So for us, this is where the work begins, and the results will be seen in the coming days.
With young Congolese scattered around the world, the promotion of entrepreneurship is one of the directives given by the President of the Republic to the Youth Ambassador of the DRC.
The head of state is keeping a close watch on the youth of the diaspora and gives them the opportunity to express themselves, to contribute to development, to peace, and why not to security in the Democratic Republic of Congo. That's why he reaffirms his decision to turn young entrepreneurs into millionaires who can come from anywhere. That's why we need to understand, even starting with free education, you'll see that helping the youth means first and foremost supporting them in their intellectual journey. So this process leads to young people today being able to be decision makers when it comes to their beautiful country, the Democratic Republic of Congo. That's why we support the vision of the head of state and also assist the supervising minister, the Honorable Grace Boutino, in bringing the head of state's vision to life.
With young people making up nearly 70% of the Congolese population, they must take action to succeed on this path. The head of state's challenge is to make them the millionaires of tomorrow.
I was just talking about this a moment ago. In the headline, a young, professional and well-equipped police force. That image is now becoming a reality. 700 new recruits are currently in training at the Kasangulu Center in central Congo. And the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of the Interior, Jacquemain Shabani, who arrived on site, emphasized not only the importance of training, but also of morals and ethics. This is a comment from Butembo, Anad Mokonzi.
Nearly 700 new recruits to the Congolese National Police will have access to rigorous training over 9 months on the disciplines related to the exercise of these professions at the newly renovated Kasangulu Police School. This initiative is part of building a professional police force, as outlined in the Police Reform Programming Law, which aims to realize the vision of the President of the Republic, Felix Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo, for a professional and apolitical police force capable of ensuring the protection of the population and their property at the community level. This session is now open. Opened by the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of the Interior and Security, Maitre Ejekmen Chabani, it marks the beginning of a new era. It offers a new perspective for renewing and strengthening police personnel to address the aging of its workforce. This session should not be limited only to professional training, but also address moral conduct to prevent the regrettable incidents that have occurred in the city of Bomaid as a result of serious acts.
These acts have contributed to the rise in insecurity.
I urge the General Commissioner of the National Police to take all necessary measures to clean up the police force. This includes removing all corrupt elements who tarnish the image of the institution to which they belong. At the end of this ceremony, the head of the territorial administration, Maitre Ejekmen Chabani, accompanied by the provincial governor, Grace Bilolo, conducted an inspection visit to his centers. It should be noted that the police officers from this session, equipped according to the principles of the reform, will, at the end of this training, counted among the 90,000 other police officers who will also need to be trained over the next 5 years at a rate of 18,000 per year in order to form a rejuvenated police force free from any form of misconduct.
North Kivu and its strategic agricultural zones. The agricultural campaign has been launched on site under the watchful eyes of the farmers' cooperatives. The Minister of Agriculture, Moïse Zangi, has arrived.
A weapon lover from the former administration, followed by the Minister of Agriculture. Less than 5 minutes to get there in the eastern region. Deaths, notably in the strategic agricultural zones of the north. What is the value after Beni? He went to Mangina, specifically to the village of Mangodomo, where he officially launched the agricultural campaign. In front of 20 groups of farmers, agricultural cooperatives and local officials, the ministers encouraged the farmers to diversify their production. Next stop, Butembo, where the minister visited the ONAPAC Butembo facilities, commending the efforts made by this organization in structuring the sector. Coffee Cocoa before continuing on to Utu in the Beni territory. At Uhtu, Mikutino Zangui held a working session with members of the PASA Agricultural Sector Support Projects. During these discussions, he promised the construction of an agricultural inputs laboratory, a project aimed at strengthening the quality and competitiveness of agricultural products in the region. The head of the company, Escokivu, one of the largest cocoa exporters in the region, welcomed this ministerial visit, stating that the minister's arrival is a great opportunity to boost agriculture in North Kivu. The day ended with a visit to a seed conservation site managed by PASA, in a strategic partnership, to ensure the availability of improved and resistant seeds for the coming seasons. The minister promised to remain attentive to farmers and to make the agricultural sector a pillar of development and lasting peace in the east of the DRC.
On the same topic, maize at a reduced cost. The General Strategic Reserve has increased its local production. So for households, where can these basic consumer products be found? the national coordinators of the Strategic Reserve. Service Mulumba, this report discusses water chimneys.
The coordinator of the General Strategic Reserve Special Service of the Presidency, Mulumba Kanti Service, accompanied by his team, officially announced the launch of the sale of maize flour at 35,000 Congolese francs. In their remarks, the coordinators of the General Strategic Reserve outlined the framework of this event in these terms.
As announced a few days ago, the General Strategic Reserve has today launched on the market 25 kilogram bags of maize flour at the price of 35,000 Congolese francs. We would like to clarify that this is a one-time operation mainly aimed at renewing our stock. As you know, the Strategic Reserve's mission is to store strategic products.
In turn, the deputy coordinators in charge of technical matters, IG, known as Dembolo, outlined the details of the event with more precision.
We have a high-quality product whose price is already set at 35,000 francs. Produced in Congo, processed in Congo, and consumed by Congolese people.
This initiative fully aligns with the vision of the head of state who prioritizes food security for the Congolese population.
Often, they have difficulty accessing humanitarian aid distribution sites, especially in cases of armed conflict. People with disabilities are advocating for access to humanitarian assistance for everyone who needs it. An appeal was made by the Consortium of Associations of Persons with Disabilities to humanitarian partners. Further details in these comments. This is an advocacy effort by organizations of people living with disabilities, grouped in a consortium that includes FENAFACO, directed at United Nations system agencies, technical and financial partners, and others working on humanitarian issues. At the heart of the discussions is access to food security for people with disabilities. This situation also extends to conflict zones, where people with disabilities struggle to access humanitarian assistance.
That's why today we wanted to push them. And for these various partners within the scope of their programs to also provide funding to organizations of people living with disabilities so they can implement projects related to inclusive food security and also to projects related to humanitarian aid, as well as to the promotion and protection of the rights of people with disabilities. We want there to be a change so that these partners can respect the various legal instruments at the international, regional, and national levels which protect the rights of people and their mechanisms.
The rights of people with disabilities, a priority guaranteed by laws and regulations, both locally and internationally. An initiative led by the We Are Ables project, which will also be extended to legislators who are the elected representatives of the people and are called upon to champion this cause as well. This is a response to the many questions about the lack of report cards at the end of the school year. The Inspector General of National Education has received a significant batch of these printed forms. Anastasie Dumbu tells us a bit more in her reports.
The report cards, as well as various didactic materials intended for the 2024 and 2025 school years, are now available. Starting from Monday, September 8, 2025, the first batch will be distributed to the educational provinces of the city of Kinshasa and Central Congo. Teachers are invited to Kavai to transcribe the grades onto the green duplicate of the new report cards. For the Inspector General of National Education and New Citizenship, this acquisition demonstrates the firm commitment of the authorities to strengthen the quality of school assessment and to ensure better accountability of results.
But also for the other provinces, we are currently looking into how the report cards can already be sent to the heads of the educational provinces. And here we see in Kisi, we see Mbanza Ngungu, we also see the city of Matadi. And we emphasize inclusion. The ministry never stops stressing the importance of inclusion. Congolese children are and must be treated on an equal footing, whether they are in Kinshasa, Bukavu, Goma, or Luanda. As long as they follow the Congolese national curriculum, they must be and feel Congolese.
A commitment honored by the Congolese government.
The President of the Republic's Week in Pictures and Commentary with Jean-Pierre Kibambeso Muisa.
The final tributes were paid to Major General Peter Chirimwami Kuba, who died from gunshot wounds sustained at the front in Sake, North Kivu, and to Colonel Ruga Bicha Alexi, who also lost his life during the fighting between the National Army and the AFC M23 rebels, auxiliaries of the Rwandan Army. This took place during a ceremony held at the beginning of the week at the People's Palace, presided over by Shodelita Felix Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces of the DRC and the National Police, in the presence of members of the government and military authorities as well as several other dignitaries. Having died, weapons in hand while defending the nation, attacked in the east of the country, the two officers were posthumously promoted to the rank of Lieutenant General and Brigadier General of the FRDC respectively. They were also admitted posthumously into the National Order and National Roll. Tabi Mulumba. Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan attaches great importance to the stability and regional integration of the Republic. From Half of Congo, statement by the Tanzanian Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mahmoud Tabigombo, he was received during the week at the African Union City by the President of the Republic, Felix Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo. The Tanzanian Special Envoy was carrying messages from President Samia Suluhu to her counterpart in the DRC. His presence in Kinshasa demonstrates the desire of the two nations to consolidate a win-win strategic partnership, said the Tanzanian Minister of Foreign Affairs. Back to school, academic year 2025-2026, the President of the Republic, Felix Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo, made a surprise visit to the Liloba Institute in Bizao Zone in the Ngalema district. The head of state went to ensure that classes had indeed resumed after the holidays and to inspect the quality of the work being carried out on site. Since last year, the school has been completely modernized with 18 spacious classrooms, equipped with benches made by the builders of the National Service, offices, school administration offices, a computer room and a mechanical workshop. In a lively and open exchange, the beneficiaries, the young students, expressed their heartfelt thanks to the head of state for his commendable decision, which comes in addition to the free basic education that has been in place for years. At the African Union City, the President of the Republic, Felix Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo, held talks with the United Nations Under-Secretary General for Peace Operations, Jean-Pierre Lacroix, who was accompanied by the head of MONUSCO, Bintou Keita, and the Minister of State and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Kaikwamba Wagner. The discussions focused on the ongoing security crisis in the east of the DRC, the issue, and to ensure that diplomatic efforts through the Washington and Doha processes and the involvement of the African Union and the United Nations lead to concrete results, that is, the cessation of violence and the implementation of all the commitments that have been made, said Jean-Pierre Lacroix after the meeting. Egypt has just acquired a major museum in Cairo. Received on Thursday at the African Union City, the Egyptian ambassador Hesham El Mekwat brought an invitation from President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi addressed to his counterpart from the DRC, Felix Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo, to attend the inauguration of this museum at the beginning of next November. The excellence of the bilateral relations, friendship and cooperation between Russia and the Democratic Republic of Congo was also discussed during the meeting, which the President of the Republic, Felix Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo, had with the Russian ambassador to the DRC, Karl Tikas. The discussions focused on aspects related to strengthening the various areas of cooperation between Russia and the DRC, the Russian diplomat added. An inspection will be carried out by the Joint Parity Commission of the Federation of Congolese Enterprises and the Regulatory Authority for Subcontracting in the Private Sectors. This is for the first time a compliance inspection of the law on subcontracting, which, including the National President of the FEC, Robert Mulumba Kalombo, and the General Editor of the RSP, Miguel Cachal. KATEM came to present the project on Thursday, September 4th at the African Night City to the President of the Republic, Felix Amorim. Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo, who took note of these inspections, which have become highly significant. Various other topics, including the business climate in the DRC, were also discussed, according to the National President of Africa. The General Director, Miguel Cachal, expressed his satisfaction with the introduction of the subcontracting law under the leadership of President Felix Antoine Tshisekedi, the Chilombo, and the support of the government by Prime Minister Judith Mawino. On Friday, September 5th, 2025, the President of the Republic, Felix Antoine Tshisekedi of Kalombo, during a ceremony held at the Central Station, officially launched the resumption of railway traffic between Kinshasa and Matadi on a 365-kilometer stretch. On the same occasion, the head of state also received this train car for travel.